Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So Sophie Turner and the producers of Game of Thrones Season 5 have been talking about some crazy things happening with the Sansa character. So I wanted to talk about her progression and what I think, some of the changes they made to the books mean for where they're taking her in Season 5. Even though the TV show is changing a lot of things about the books, I think that Dan and Dave are taking Sansa in the same direction that they think that George R. R. Martin is taking her. But for those that are wondering, Sansa's character caught up to her book story in Season 4. So whatever happens to her in Season 5, it's beyond the books. Real quick reminder, new round of the weekly giveaway. I'm giving away a copy of the Season 4 Blu-ray. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. I do have some other cool stuff to mention that I'm going to fit at the end of the video, like this badass poster they released and the HBO streaming service. So all that stuff after we get through some Dark Sansa. Just careful for spoilers for everything through Season 4 on the show and all the book stuff that they've covered on the show so far. So let's start with the idea of Dark Sansa. What do I mean when I say Dark Sansa? Mostly, I'm talking about the direction that our character is headed. Both Sophie Turner and the producers have talked in very general terms that Sansa is going to have some traumatic, eye-opening experiences in Season 5. Up to this point, you still kind of consider her sweet Sansa, sweet summer child Sansa. She's like one of those characters that totally bought into the idea of chivalry and the fantasy of royal society, and then over the last 4 seasons and the first 3 books, that fantasy slowly gets burned down in front of her. She gets betrothed to the future king, who winds up being a total monster, gets brutalized by knights like Sir Meryn Trant here, and then proceeds to get rescued by people that she thinks are terrible. Slowly along the way, her idea of reality just gets chipped away. Where does that leave her in Season 5? So if you remember at the end of Season 4, Littlefinger convinced Sansa to deceive Lord Royce and the other nobles of the Vale after he sent Lysa through the moon door. They always hated Littlefinger, he's an imposter in their eyes, so Sansa could have totally told the truth and hung him out to dry. I don't know if you could call telling a bold-faced lie courageous, but this was one of the first times Sansa acted in her own interest, even if it meant doing something bad. Doing bad things for the right reasons, or doing bad things in your own self-interest. That is what playing the Game of Thrones is all about. Whenever she was back in King's Landing, I think she mostly applied avoidance tactics, like where she just tried to blend in with the furniture, hoping that Joffrey would see something shiny and distract him. But then you get to the end of Season 4, and she's learning to manipulate people, with Littlefinger's help. One of my favorite clever Sansa moments from when this starts to happen is when Littlefinger visits her after that meeting with Lord Royce, and she tells him, "I know what you want." It's like her saying, "I get it now. I understand what you're after." And then the next time we see her, she's dyed her hair black and she's wearing this awesome looking black dress. So when you look at her in these shots from the Season 5 trailer, you can see she's starting to look more and more like her mother, Catelyn. So what it seems like the producers are doing is giving her some of the more violent aspects of the post-Red Wedding Catelyn Stark. I think in one of my earlier videos, I said the name Sansa Stoneheart, and I think that might have been a little confusing for some people. I wasn't saying that I think she's literally going to go through the Lady Stoneheart storyline. I think it just means that she's going to start murdering people in the name of vengeance, with a lot of help from Littlefinger. Think about it this way, on the list of traumatic things that can happen to characters, going from sweet summer child to cold-blooded killer is pretty high on the list. And the trailer even teases this a little. Littlefinger tells Sansa, "There's no justice in this world, not unless we make it." And then later he says, "Avenge them," as we see, Sansa crying her eyes out. It seems like Littlefinger's trying to sell Sansa on a complex revenge plot that involves murdering lots of Freys, lots of Boltons, lots of Lannisters. The only potential issues with this are that Sansa's TV show story has already caught up with her book story. For those that haven't read the books, Sansa's story in the books ends at the end of book 4, whenever they have this meeting with Lords of the Vale. This is like the last scene that we get with her. There was a chapter that George R. R. Martin wrote for Winds of Winter for her character, but because both of those books, because books 4 and 5 occur in the same time frame, I think that it was probably just this last scene that we got with her with Littlefinger in Season 4. She's supposed to be a POV character in Winds of Winter, but we have no idea where her story's going. So I'm just choosing to assume that Dan and Dave are taking Sansa in the direction that they logically think George R. R. Martin is taking her, but you can never predict what George R. R. Martin is going to do next. Another really cool thing to think about is that the false name that Sansa uses whenever they go to the Vale to hide out is Stone. So Sansa, Stoneheart, Dark Sansa, I think it all fits together. There are a lot of you that have asked me about Michelle Fairley's name appearing on the IMDb page for the Season 5 finale, for Season 5 Episode 10. Just because anybody with a keyboard is allowed to edit IMDb, I wouldn't take that as being fact. Officially, Michelle Fairley's people have said that she has nothing to do with Game of Thrones. I mean, you can hold out hope for her making a guest appearance, but I don't think it's going to happen. More cool Sansa stuff though. So Sophie Turner just cast as Jean Grey in the new X-Men franchise. So she is in line to become the next Dark Phoenix. Sophie Turner said that it was her recent work on Game of Thrones that got the X-Men producers interested in her. Jean Grey, very caring, sensitive person that winds up becoming the crazy cosmic spirit of vengeance. So I'm kind of wondering if Bryan Singer and the X-Men people saw footage of her in season 5 and thought she'd do a really good job of pulling off a character that could go from timid to really evil badass. I mean, I don't know if they did or not, but Sophie Turner had already filmed most of season 5 whenever she auditioned for X-Men. So here's my big question for you guys. Do you want to see a stabbier version of Sansa in season 5? Or if you don't want to see her go in that direction, what do you want the producers to do with the character? I'm not expecting Sansa to die in season 5, but I guess it's still a possibility. It just seems like the producers are setting her on the path to becoming more of a badass in her own way, just like Arya in Braavos. Speaking of which, this poster they just released, it looks awesome, but it makes it look like Tyrion is going to encounter Drogon while he's sailing to Pentos. They might tease that, but I think this is just like the season 4 trailer whenever we saw Drogon's shadow over King's Landing. It's not something that ended up happening on the show. It was just like a WTF hype moment to get everyone crazy excited about dragons. But I do think that we're going to see Drogon strafing the coast for food. Just to explain the giveaway for new people, so I'm doing a weekly Game of Thrones giveaway. Whenever we get to episode 1, I'm giving away signed copies of Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons, signed by George R. R. Martin, that is, and they're hardbacks. Which actually reminds me, congratulations to this week's giveaway winner, Sarah Weller. You win a copy of the season 4 Blu-ray, so just be sure to message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact info. I'm also probably going to give away some subscriptions to the HBO streaming service. They haven't announced an official start date yet, but they're probably going to open it up for subscriptions at the beginning of April. The season 5 premiere is April 12th, so what they'll probably do is they'll open it up for subscriptions within about 2 weeks of that. They haven't said how much it's going to cost, but most of the best estimates that I've seen so far are $15 US, and they haven't announced whether or not it's going to be available in international countries, but worst case scenario, you access it just like you access HBO Go with a proxy service. So even if you're outside of the US, you should still be able to pay money and legit watch Game of Thrones. Like, you won't have to pirate it. I'm totally down with whatever ways you guys use to watch the show, but I do ask that you guys not paste pirate streaming links in the comments. Right now, we're within the 6-week window of season 5 starting, so I hope you're all getting crazy excited. Please leave me all your requests for bonus videos. There's still plenty of time to do all kinds of fun stuff between now and then. I think my next video is probably going to be a Daenerys video, so be sure to subscribe to get that. I'll post that next week. While you guys wait for that to drop, you can click here for my Jon Snow video, and you can click here for my list of unexpected deaths that I think might be happening. Thank you so much for watching, so let's all high five. I'll see you guys tonight.